E aí pessoal, como é que vocês estão? Beleza? Vamos continuar aqui a nossa saga do Dragon Age Inquisition. Simbora, vamos falar aqui com a Vivienne.
Yes?
I wanted to ask you about the Circle of Magi.
Of course. What do you wish to know?
If the
The circle is an idea, my dear. And an idea... Many of the first enchanters voted for rebellion, caring little.
Sei lá, às vezes eu não confio nessa maluca aí não.
Enchanter Fiona's vote
E o
split the
bugzinho aqui, ó.
circle in two.
Inquisidor
The
fazendo
rebels follow
moonwalk.
her. The loyalists follow me.
You must have an opinion of the Templars after living so long.
Having opinions about Templars, my dear, is exactly like having opinions about mages or Navarrans or men. I have known some who were impossible to endure and some who were utterly charming. I have suffered insults at the hands of those in the armor, but no more than I endured from nobles or tradesmen in Val Royal. Personally, I have found the Templars a useful tool, skilled at keeping more unpleasant elements at bay.
If the Circle disbanded, how can you still...
The circle is an idea, my dear. And many of the... Rather than dissolving it, Grand Enchanter Fiona's vote split the circle in two. The rebels follow
Porra,
her.
diálogo grande
The
do caralho.
loyalists follow me.
If you lead all the Loyalists, why are you only First Enchanter and not...
Grand Enchanters are elected, and since there are no First Enchanters besides myself, I could name myself Grand Enchanter, but the title holds no meaning now. When the circles are restored, that will change.
What was it like to live in a Circle?
My dear, your question is the root of all problems with mages. And every person within each tower had an... Some people suffered and some were content. Some were cruel. The same is true of people everywhere, in all circumstances, whether they are mages or not.
So, tell me about your personal...
I enjoyed life in the Montsimard Circle, my dear. And mages need the company of other mages. No one else can truly understand the challenges we face, nor see the world as we do.
You must have been under constant supervision being forced by Templars to live in the tower.
My dear, I have a suite in the palace and a wing at my dear Duke Bastien's estate. I've never been...
Desumilde pra caralho, filho.
All that was required was permission from the first. Some circles were harsher in their restrictions. Kirkwall was perhaps too permissive in retrospect.
How did we come to this state with it?
A failure of perspective that mages lived solely in a world of Templars, and Kirkwall gave the world a reason to remember its fear of magic. Across Thedas, a new tangible fear of magic. But the malcontents in the towers thought nothing of this. When a mage attempted to assassinate Divine Justinia, again, the leadership chose to vote on independence based on the intolerable conditions imposed, sparing no thought to the fact that magic was more feared in the aftermath of these attacks. So long as they had their freedom, they could care little for riots, angry mobs, or about pitting mages against each other.
I thought the fighting was only between mages and...
The vote for independence was carried by only a small margin. Those who opposed a rash declaration of war against them, by breaking from the Chantry when they did. Anyone who did not wish to support terrorism and the slaughter of innocents was forced to take arms against the rebels.
Are you familiar with Grand Enchanter?
We've met. In her dotage, she could not handle looking after the... We would have done better to replace her years ago, to let her spend time gardening.
Did they have cause to rebel?
In the aftermath of their terrorist attacks? Was that really the most... By all means protest abuses by the Templars. Just don't... By voting when they did, my colleagues all but declared war upon the Order. A war in which we are outnumbered 100 to 1. Yes?
Is there anything I can do to help your efforts at restoring the Circle?
After the circles fell, their libraries were 1,000 years of recorded knowledge in the hands of Ban. I've received news that some tomes have been located, if you are interested in righting this wrong.
I'll look into it for you.
If you can take care of this matter, the circle would be in your debt.
Pô, coisa pra caralho, ó. Ainda vamos de Mohawk, hein? Olha que tem 2 diálogos aqui. Tem Elisma. Deixa eu ver esse aqui. Esse aqui eu acho que eu nunca falei com
Greetings
ela,
to you,
não.
Inquisitor. I am to serve as assistant to any research concerns. You'll find my skills are exceptional. I hope they prove useful. Yes. She said she was needed elsewhere and that I should serve the Inquisition.
What is she doing?
Essa parece ser
I
mais
have been
simpática.
told.
You were made tranquil?
Yes, I am tranquil. It was necessary to... I remember that being a difficult time, but I cannot remember why. My skills are well used in my current position.
How can you serve the...
I am to aid in the research of all creatures in Canal.
What makes you particularly qualified?
I remember being fond of animals. I don't remember why.
What is your evaluation of how we're doing?
Adequate.
Só a entrevista, meu irmão.
To Skyhold.
As you were.
Entendeu? Acho que o Dorinha tá bem ali. Normalmente o Dorinha fica aqui, olha aí. Vou falar com o cara.
That chanter fellow who led us through the mountain from Haven. You know he died, I assume. Got us as far as the camp and then... that was it.
Oh.
I helped him walk. He just needed to be sure you were Andraste's chosen. He was terrified of what it meant. But in the end, he believed. He asked me to tell you he was sorry.
Thank you for telling me about that.
I thought it was important. Anyway, we can talk about something else if you'd rather.
It occurs to me that...
Beyond my being a mage from Tevinter, you mean?
Beyond that, yes.
And beyond my being so charming and well-dressed.
Vamos lá, vamos dar bola pra ele.
I'm well aware of your finer qualities, believe me.
The moment I saw you, I thought, there's a man who knows quality. Now, what was I talking about? Ah, yes, me. I am the scion of House Parvis, a product of generations of careful breeding.
Ele já é todo convencido aí, mas pelo menos é engraçado, velho.
Naturally, I despised it all. The lies, the scheme. That's Tevinter in a nutshell, isn't it? Needless to say, my family was not happy with my choices.
Why remain with the Inquisition?
I'm not exactly... well, not that it matters. I'm quite accustomed to being a pariah. I can do more for Tevinter here. If the Venatori succeed, it'll set my hope. I'm sure some magisters would disagree. But that's why we kill them.
I'm getting the impression you don't...
On the contrary, I care for my homeland a great... Sadly, we squander it. We pretend the Canari can be beaten. We pretend that we're superior to everyone, even our own people. Not everyone feels that way. I don't. Sadly, we're the minority.
What did you mean by
The great families of Tevinter don't. My mother was chosen for my father because magic runs strongly in her. They wanted a son who could become Archon to make House Pup. They got me. A cautionary tale that you should be careful what you wish for.
Why would your family be up...
Because I rejected their idyllic plan. If they had their way, by now I'd be married to some unlucky girl from a powerful family. We'd live in luxurious despair, despising each other as I waited to take my father's place in the registry. I declined the honor, and thus it's best I'm far from home. Less of an embarrassment that way, you see?
I think I've heard enough.
That's too bad. I never tire of talking about myself.
I'd like to ask you about Tevinter.
Probably why they come up with so many ridiculous tales. All right, that one's actually true, but the cows did... I digress. Anything in particular you wanted to know?
Porra! Caralho.
Just how often is blood magic? Not at all.
That's what any Magister would tell you. That, of course, what people call blood magic here and what we consider blood magic are two different things.
What's considered actual blood magic?
Blood magic isn't inherently dangerous. Using your own blood or that of a witch. The problem is that what's permitted only gets you so much power. And what if you need more? That's where we get into sacrifices and demon summoning. Behind closed doors, it's a different story. Real blood. It's safe to assume that any mage of rank does it. The rest are quietly shut out of power, to put it bluntly.
You'd think the Templars would object.
I imagine they did, long ago. Once, their investigations might have been sincere. Then their balls were cut off. Too inconvenient. Nowadays, only the friendless are accused. Most of them probably innocent.
There must be some mages who oppose.
Of course. I do. I'm not entirely alone. Occasionally, there'll be a Magister who makes noise, and then the reform talk begins. Meanwhile, that Magister will be quietly shunned. Chances are, surprise, it's learned he... Most learn to keep quiet. Me? I enjoy the allure of pariahhood.
Anyone who talks about
Puta
the
merda, meu irmão. Vamos agilizando aí.
And did you have...
Not personally, but my family does. Back home, it's... how it is. Slaves are everywhere. You don't question it. I'm not even certain many slaves do.
You think slaves like it that way?
I didn't say they like it. It's all most of them. In the south, you have alienages, slums, both human and elf. Back home, a poor man can sell himself. As a slave, he could have a position of respect, comfort. Some slaves are treated poorly, it's true. But do you honestly think inescapable poverty is better?
I suppose not, no.
But I suspect you don't know either. Nor should you believe that every tale of Tevinter excess is the norm.
It seems strange that...
I find it strange that you're... Actually, the fiction and the magisterium rules. That magisters are all mages is considered a convenient technicality.
But let me ask you something else.
Of course.
There's an Imperial Chantry, isn't there? With its own divine...
You people aren't supposed to talk. If you mention him outside the Imperium, people make that face. But yes, we do have the Chantry, or a version of it. Night and day comparing it to yours.
Is the Imperial Chantry...
Not in theory. The main difference is in the whole... Back home, ruling the unwashed masses is... Perhaps it started with good intentions, but these days it's academic. The circles are in command. We don't have dismal little mage prisons, if that's what you mean. We have Templars as well, but they don't cancel spells or whatever you... They watch for abuse of magic, yes, but only though... Mostly they enforce their magisterium's edicts. The Chantry smiles and nods from the sidelines.
Do you really call him the Black...
We do. In the Imperium, he's the true divine. It all stems from a disagreement over Andraste. Marvelous, isn't it? It's not my field of expertise, but down south they say, no, she's the bride of the Mid. We feel better believing Andraste was one of us. So we elected a man as divine, the south declared war, and we've been feuding cousins ever since.
So the Imperial Divine is...
All the better to distinguish him from that. Don't think there aren't a number of female magisters who bristle at that. Why can't they be divine? Same reason you never see a man on the sunburst throne. Because that's how it's always been done.
Do you consider yourself on...
It might surprise you that I do consider myself Andrastian. It is a relic, whether back home or here in the south. It's not an opinion that makes me popular.
I share your opinion, actually.
That's not surprising, considering what the Inquisition... I'll say this. I may...
In me.
That the make essential, whether through Andraste or fate. Because you are what we needed most at the moment we needed it. That's what they will say in ages to come.
You don't seem like the religious sort.
religious as sitting in a chantry and listening to a blithering hen tell you how to live, if you define it as believing in the possibility that something larger than yourself, the world is bigger than I, even bigger than you. It laughs at all the things we... The Maker doesn't need me to believe, but I do. The thought of no one at all watching out for us is too frightening. So many questions.
I'm wondering if the Imperium...
I think they'll be more concerned whether or not they'd support. They won't. At least, not officially. Secretly, many Magisters will rejoice at the idea. And if the South falls to chaos in the meantime...
It would be in the Imperium's best interest to help. Surely it could use allies.
I think the Imperium gave... We've been fighting the Canary for what? 200 years off and on? They'll sneer at the South behind their silk handkerchiefs and say, you've had... Let's not forget that the Inquisition seems to be an arm of the Orlesian Chantry. Anathema so far as they're concerned.
We're not part of the Chantry.
You think that matters? The Herald of Andraste. I think they're far more frightened what you'll do if you succeed.
That's all I want.
Fair enough.
I should go.
Try not to kill anyone without me.
Aqui.
Did you know we're actually related, Inquisitor?
Related?
You're a Trevelyan, however, and somewhere in dank nethers of my family tree, perhaps he was even the one who ventured to Ostwick to establish the branch. We are talking long ago, of course.
Learn something?
Nice, isn't it? Like being in a quality library, provided you're not the one stocking the shelves.
Caramba, meu irmão.
Popular topic. Anything specific?
Tô pra dormir aqui.
It seems strange that an entire...
I find it strange that... Actually, the fiction in the Magisterium rules. That Magisters are all mages is considered a convenient technicality.
What?
The upper house... Those seats are split among the... It's odd that outside the Imperium, you use Magister like it applies to...
If you're not a Magister, then...
I'm an Altus, which is almost as good as a Magister, depending on who you ask.
I've...
Upper class. Those families who trace descent from the Dreamers, the first prop. If you're a mage and you're not Altus, then you're later. Lower class. If you're not a mage at all, you're Soperati. That's everyone else. We do love our fancy words. Well, yes. Technically, he can open. Even so, he gets to appoint new Magister. Thus, the Archon gets invited to all the parties. The truest path to Tevinter influence,
If it's a fiction, that means mages...
Yes. Let me put it this way. Mages do rule, but if you're not from the right family, chances are... The idea that anyone could be a mage, however, keeps the masses placated.
Can?
Technically, the potential runs mostly in bloodline. More importantly, commoners believe it can. So they hold out hope. Someday, poor sods don't realize that means he'll be a quaestor at the arse end of the 100...
Being a quaestor isn't a...
I imagine the average non-mage, counting numbers and shuffling paper. If you're a second-class citizen among a pack of piranha, however, your outlook changes.
But let me ask you something.
Of course.
That's...
Fair enough.
I should go.
You know where I'll be.
Talvez se terminou de vez.
Something you need?
Aê, pessoal!
Naturally.
Puta que pariu! 20 minutos já, velho. Vamos subir ali pra ver se tem alguma coisa. Tinha um lugar aqui pra subir. Vamos curiar, né? Sobre a condição dos seus protegidos. Outra coisa aqui. Bilhete na Torre dos Corvos. Boa honra para fechar. Mas boa honra para fechar uma fronteira. Tem um altar aqui. Ó. Não pôr lá embaixo. Vou descer aqui, né? Agora vamos dar uma viagem rápida lá no centro. Rapaz, é grande demais. Aí já tem 20 minutos de vídeo. Vou encerrar aqui, pessoal, e a gente continuar na próxima. Fiquem bem, se inscrevam no canal e falou!